p.m. I now reconvene into the open session. The time is now 5:28, and the executive session has been concluded. The participants in the executive session were myself, council members Eric Otto, Augusti Kanakis, Tom Priest, Brian Odine, and Kate Shafani. Also, interim manager Katie Sickles, and town attorney Mike Sawyer, and also Jay Brumman, also interim manager. For the record, if any person who participated in the executive session believes that any substantial discussion of any matters not included in the motion to go into executive session occurred during the executive session, or that any improper action occurred during the executive session in violation of the open meetings law, I would ask that you state your concerns for the record. Hearing none, we all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
You forgot number 4.
Yep.
I think there's some direction that came out of.
Yes, thank you. Okay.
Okay.
I thought you were doing.
Yeah, sure. We would like to give direction to the town attorney to file a statement of opposition in water court case 25 CW 3052.
Received.
And I gotta be me, you know. Okay, let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Next on the agenda is we have approval for the consent agenda. Anyone interested in pulling any items there? Hearing none, I'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
So a motion by Augusti, second by Kate.
Sure.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, next we have approval of the regular agenda. Do we have any additions or subtractions?
I'll make a motion to approve the regular agenda.
Second. Motion by Eric, second by Tom. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next, there's declaration of conflicts of interest, and I do have one. I will be recusing myself from item 11A. And with that, you can take over as that comes up. Let's see, next we have public comment. Is there any people in the public that has any comments or wants to address the council about any issue that is not on the agenda? Anybody out there, Cindy?
Sorry, I'm just double checking.
Okay.
Why? I don't see anyone with their hand raised.
Okay, thank you. Let's see. Council comments?
Yeah, wanted to thank staff and everybody who participated in the first Friday. Last Friday was another really cool one. My kids watched glass blowing for like 3 hours straight. Had cool glasses and everything. So that was a really fun event. Got to meet some cool people. And the other thing I wanted to note was it's interesting to see the drill work that's being done when you come into town right now. They've got a lot of signage up. It pinches the road. It's forcing people to slow down. And it's just I think it's just an interesting thing to note that while people are working there, CDOT feels the need to approve signage and slowing the road design down and all that. But when our kids are just doing the normal business, they're waiting for the bus stop or doing things like that, we can take those signs away and it's back to, normal business. So I just wish that they would afford our kids and dogs and community the same protections that they would afford people who are working, because I think we're all equally important.
Thank you, Brian. Hey.
Nothing.
Okay.
I don't have anything either.
Okay.
Nothing. I attended a Climate Action Collaborative Board recently that went very well and exciting projects those guys are always working on, but nothing more to report.
I just wanted to, it's not nothing new, but I want to make sure I tell everyone. The Blue Valley Partnership has their awards best of for the year. And Minturn has made the category on a couple of issues, on several actually. First of all, this is innovation in the public sector. We're the finalist in that. And then also, and Small Business of the Year, we have Minturn Whiskey Company. Also the Belden Witch. They're still in town, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so thought I saw that. They must have it at a store somewhere. I saw a sign somewhere outside of town. But anyway, congratulations. And then also Core Transit won a couple of things too. So what is that first? We're rolling. Okay. Besides that, I ain't got nothing. Staff reports, Jay.
I got a report in the packet if you have any questions on that. You guys are all looking at pictures. I wanted to show you what the Public Works is doing with the street sweeper. There's a picture there where you were kind of looking in a culvert, trying to figure out what it's doing. It's not putting dirt in it, it's sucking it out.
Thank God.
Let's see. I wanted to bring to everybody's attention on May 18th, there is a slash and log, whatever, so they'll come and chop up your wood and haul away for you. They'll chip it. That's May 18th. There's information on the website. And then we also have our town cleanup on May 31st. I wanted to also bring up, we've been going back and forth with CDOT and everybody else about closure and whatnot to get excuse me, I call them ACDC lanes, the Excel decel lane out by the U.S. Forest Service Bridge. They'll be doing that construction. They'll start ramping up in about 2 to 4 weeks. They'll go most of the summer. But the issue is we don't want heavy trucks going across Belden Bridge if we can at all avoid it. So I'll keep you posted through email and whatnot on that, but we're moving forward with it a little bit.
I did check, Jay, too. The concrete trucks load the concrete full at their site, and then so it'll be crossing the bridge
So they're having
with concrete in it.
That's what I was thinking, yeah. But anyway, they are looking, they did want to close it for the entire construction period, and I'm talking about the U.S. Forest Service Bridge. They'll do single lane diversions and stuff on Highway 24 for parts of it, but that's becoming kind of a thorny issue in the staff level. And then just as a heads up, I'm going to be out on Monday.
Taking a vacay.
Well, I'll be around for the phone, but actually I'm going to the dump. I finally convincing my son to get rid of his sofa. So you can imagine how nice it is.
Should we get hold of, I know Jeff's out of town, Spinell.
I've been dealing with Brad, I think his name is. I've been dealing with Brad. I've been dealing with Jamie Pappas or whatever, and Rick Hermes up at Minturn North, and I've been dealing with CDOT too. So, and I've got Madison and I and anybody else that we can rope together.
Yeah, well, I might get a hint from what to be looking for on the Belden Bridge
Mhm.
as it progresses.
And we're trying to figure out, I mean, the questions come up, how stable is the bridge? I want to assure everybody that it is fine, it is safe. It's just not a good idea to run, 75,000 pound trucks over it.
Jay, I apologize for interrupting. I know you've been very busy today, but I wanted to let you know that Rick did email back saying that they would keep heavy truck traffic on Minturn Road. However, during the paving of Minturn Road, instead of closing it to all traffic, since they still need their traffic, they do request that Taylor resident traffic stay off as much as possible, so that they can limit the amount of traffic going up and down Minturn Road.
Okay. And they'll probably be paving one side and then the other, and but it will go from basically 6th Street all the way to the bridge. That's because they're doing the bike lane, they're doing the paving, they're doing everything there, so.
All right. Next we have the other manager's report. Katie?
So this week is Town Clerk Appreciation Week. So I want to thank Jay for all that he's done. I really appreciate his 27 years and his history. Just going around in the bus last week, just hearing a lot of what he knows about Minturn was awesome. So just want to say that.
So to congratulate you, you can go to the dump.
Good day off.
Awesome job.
Thanks, Jay. He's a wild man. Yes,
So there's a whole list of items on my report, including the Intermountain TPR draft report. And I just wanted to make sure you knew how many people are coming from Lake County, possibly through Minturn if they're working actually in Eagle County. So anyway, there's a lot of lists. If you have any questions, I'm certainly happy to answer.
Okay, any questions for Katie? Okay, thank you, Katie. Let's see, now it's Scott Hunn's turn.
It's my turn. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In the packet is a pretty comprehensive rundown of a couple of really important things. The first one is the Minturn Forward Code Rewrite Project. It was really fun on this particular memo to put complete in green on several new articles of your new code that have not come to you for adoption. We'll get there probably at the end of the project, but I think we're feeling pretty good about having worked through land use application types, subdivision application types, annexation and disconnection, environmental impact reports. And that said, for the last 2 months, Madison and Matt Farrer and myself have been meeting a lot and making good use of our time, focusing on the next part of the project, which is of probably most interest to you and the people in this town, which is our zone districts. So one of our primary goals has been with this project to look at all of the 27 different zone districts we have in this town, try to consolidate and streamline those. And I think we're there, or at least we feel like we're getting there. And the process to get to the point where we're about ready to roll this out to the public has been a lot of tedious work, creating spreadsheets and tables, comparing existing zone districts, all the allowed uses, all the dimensional standards, building height, setbacks for all the different existing zone districts, then taking the community plan and the recommendations from the 2-year-old community plan that recommends some new zone districts, and comparing those and cross-referencing those and being able to, in the next few weeks, put those on boards that will be presented in this room and put information on the website that starts explaining to people, this is your existing zoning if you live in this block or have this address. These are your existing allowed uses, and this is what we're proposing going forward. So that's the next part of this memo is what's next. We're going to start rolling out public notice through the door hangers, some probably email blasts, direct mailers. We're going to mail each property owner to let them know that this is happening. We've certainly told the Planning Commission that that's how we were going to handle that. I think that's the only right way to do this is to, if people's zoning, their allowed uses are going to be affected, that we go to that length to at least send direct mailings to folks. But that's all building to some open houses that we want to host here in June. We're going to try to do them on different nights. So people, if they can't attend Thursday night, they might be able to attend the next Monday night. So we're going to do that. Following those open houses in June, we're going to give another month and give people the opportunity either in writing or in an online survey to provide comments and feedback on if they have concerns, if they don't like what we're proposing. And then, am I missing anything with that? I think that's it. So that's gonna be June, May and June for us. But I'm really excited because I think the sections or the articles that we've been working on have been really important. But this is really, I think, where the rubber meets the road. So Matt's not listening, but he's certainly we would not be where we are without his help. So.
Well, normal human beings wouldn't even care, but I'm absolutely excited about this. I mean, we directed you what? How long ago was that? 4 or 5 years ago, started working on chapter 16, and then we kept giving you other work instead.
Yeah, so thanks for giving me the ability to work with someone like Matt. Madison's been, as usual, invaluable, helping keep us on track and organized and making sense of lots of really complicated spreadsheets and stuff like that. So
thank you too, Madison.
Thank you.
And I just have a couple other things. If you have any questions on that, let me know. But we're moving forward, and word's going to go out to the public here in the next couple of weeks on how they can get involved. We do have 2 major applications that we've been continuing to work on. Eagle County School District, Molloy Park major subdivision. The applicant has just turned back in his responses to our referral agency comments. So we'll start going through that in the next 2 to 3 weeks. And if those issues that were identified by referral agencies have been adequately addressed, we'll start talking with the applicant about scheduling some hearing dates before the Planning Commission. If not, we'll continue to try to resolve those issues. The goal being to make sure that that application is kind of where it needs to be at a preliminary plat level of detail before we bring it to the Planning Commission. Same thing or similar thing with Midtown Village PUD. They received preliminary plan approval in, what was it, January of this year. They have turned in their final plat application, which really gets into the final details of the actual subdivision plat and the subdivision improvement agreement. We just received that and are starting to process, or at least review that for completeness. So Madison's been super busy on the design review board side of things. As you saw in your consent agenda, there's a lot of new homes either in Belden or Minturn North coming through, and she's handling those like a champ. Very proficient in reviewing plans these days and getting those to the Planning Commission in a timely manner. So those are the big things I had on my report, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Good. What understanding the process with the school district, what timeline have they got proposed at this juncture? Do they have one?
For construction?
To actually, any milestones on their part, have they voiced that yet?
I think as with most applicants, they're kind of beholden to us and getting through this process before they can really start putting firm dates. They may have thought at some point when they applied a year and a half ago that they'd be constructing roads, water, and sewer this year. So if we were to get them through preliminary subdivision plat by the end of summer, meaning Planning Commission approval and Town Council approval, they would then turn around and submit a final plat. And that's going to take several months to get through a process. So I think next spring is the best case scenario for them to actually break ground. Tom Braun, their planning representative, might have a different take on things, but
A contentious take?
no, just of course they're gonna want to think that they might get in the ground this fall. That is plausible. He may be working on final plat level details now in the hopes of getting approval this summer at preliminary plan level, getting resubmitted and everything's rosy and they can get shovels in the ground before it snows, but that seems pretty unlikely to me.
Okay.
All right. Anything else, Scott? Okay. Thanks, Scott.
Yeah.
All right. We have no special presentations tonight. We're on to business items. I will recuse myself and hand the meeting to you. I forgot my Kindle.
There's lots of books out there. All right. 11A. Is that you, Jay?
That's me.
Oh, Max, take it away.
So this should look fairly familiar to y'all. Y'all have reviewed several applications of this nature for the past couple years. So essentially the applicant, which the applicants are here tonight, Step and Spence, they are requesting exemption from section 1617.110, which requires everything to be undergrounded. Per my understanding of the issue, which I'm sure Stephen Spence can explain much better, given that they've been involved in all of this, there's two different options that could be put into place should they still need to go underground. However, one of them is placing a pole still on their property, but at the rear of their property where it would feel like it's edging out into William Street, and same with a transformer box, which again would need to be placed at the rear of their property, feeling like it's edging out into William Street. So they're requesting an exemption to pull power off of the current pole that's already back there. So as I said, I'm sure Stephen Spence can explain this much better than I can, but that is the general gist of the request.
Without further ado.
Can you put up the one of the Robert's drawing?
Cindy, will you pull up Robert's drawing? The
Page 176 or 126.
page 126 of the packet.
Yes, one moment.
Can you start with the survey that shows the lines? It's going to do it on the property. Okay, yeah. Spence Neubauer, 161 Main Street. So we started talking to Excel about getting power. We figured we would underground from one of the current poles and transformers and come to our property. Turns out in the tariff rule, Excel will not, the point of service is that transformer. So it's our property from the transformer. So we can't cross a right of way with our property, if that makes sense. So the transformer needs to be on the lot. So the only way to do that is to underground, put a 78-inch by 68-inch transformer in the middle of that street there. Or on our property, but it looks like it's in the middle of the street. The other option is to put a pole that connects to the current line that's overhead on the property line. And when we have this, I can point it out a little bit better. So we wouldn't be adding overhead lines. It would just be the pole there. And then we would underground from there to our building because the transformer would be on our pole, it would be on our property. The third, what we think is the best option is to move that pole 10 feet towards the building on the property line, but it requires 3 new high voltage lines from that existing that would be Excel's property. So it wouldn't be our overhead. Ours would still be underground from that pole, but it would be closer to the building and out of the right of way. I don't know if you can see that on the packet there. So there's the 2 dots Robert has. The one in the corner is what Excel wants to do, is just put a pole, because that hooks right up to the power lines that run overhead already. So we can string a couple power lines 10 feet to the building, have the transformer there, and then underground from there. And that would also, if Grammy's attic ever does develop, they could also come from that transformer, since it doesn't cross any property lines. So that would.
Jake.
So this is where Excel wants
Do
to
you mind
put it.
grabbing the mic too, so the people at home can hear? Thank you.
So the current pole is here, and there's another one down here at the dead end by Holy Toledo. So we can't underground from there because we're crossing the town's right of way. We can't underground here because of the right of way and crossing that property. So the transformer needs to be on our property. They want to put it directly underneath the power lines that run from here to here. But again, that's 15 feet from the back out of the bunkhouses parking lot, and the people turning out of the garage here would probably have a hard time. So if we move it 10 feet, we're at the corner of the building. There's a few new lines that hook from Excel's high voltage lines to this pole, and then transformer underground to our building. So that's what we're requesting. So it's not technically new overhead lines for us. It would be new Excel overhead lines.
Now, is this something that they're requiring because you're commercial?
They require the transformer on the property for all new construction. For a residential, they can do the little pedestals, but for a commercial, they don't do pedestals. They only do the big
transformer.
Big
The
transformer.
reason why I ask is there was a house being built over on Taylor. Kruger was his last name, and we had him trench everything because he come in for a pole, and I just didn't want to, do one for one and not for the other.
Yeah.
So
So it's a 78 by 68 concrete pad with bollards at all four corners. So that would be where at that. So if we did put the ground transformer and XL undergrounds from this or from Holy Toledo, they'd underground trench it. There'd be a transformer 78 by 68 still in the middle of the street. And that's with the clearances to the building, it needs to be at least 30 inches from a fireproof firewall.
Where you're proposing up against your building, it's not actually out into the road, it's on your property.
Exactly. So this is the rear of the building here.
Yeah.
So it'd be right next to the building.
Okay.
So in regards to the ground-based transformer versus the pole-mounted, different set of code as far as your distance?
If something happens with a transformer, it needs to be 10 feet away from a second story building or window.
Mm-hmm.
Because if it blows up, the smoke goes up and you don't want to go in the building. So if it's a pole mounted transformer, it's already above the building.
So there's no provision.
There has to be. So the second story starts here. So it would be above this first story. So it's meeting the current setback for the building.
So really bottom line is either a pole or a transformer is sitting out, and because even though there's a gradation on the plat map here as far as this is concerned, that's just pavers. I mean, it's just road.
It looks like road, yes.
Okay.
I seem to remember the only public feedback we heard a couple times on the whole plan in the first place was pinching that William Street corridor, and it seems to make sense to me to try to keep that as open as possible.
It would slow people down.
And so the only quote hazard, if there is one, is 3 spur lines coming off the main line over to your offset
for 10 feet.
Yep.
It's a short run too. I mean, I walked out there yesterday. Robert was out there. I mean, it's not like you're having 50 feet of wire hanging down there. You're more in the 20 feet range, probably.
10 feet.
Maybe 10 feet. Well, from the.
And it's the high voltage. It's the high voltage line, so it's the top ones.
Yeah.
It's not the black ones that are lower.
No, I mean, it makes sense to me.
So I did want to point out, as part of the resolution, should y'all decide to approve this tonight, staff did suggest one condition of approval that as part of the construction process, conduit should be laid even if they're not connecting to it at this point, so that in the case of an eventual overhaul, redevelopment of the 100 block as a whole, hopefully we can set things up so that all properties can kind of join together.
Kind of a laid where?
You would need to talk to Excel about. I was not specific in the condition on where it should be laid, just that it should be set up for undergrounding.
So we will still be undergrounding from the pole. If we put a pole there from that transformer underground to our lot. So if they or to our building. So if they underground the service lines, we'll already be set up for that. Yes.
Okay.
All right. So resolutions, we can take a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 16, series 2025, a resolution approving the request for exemption from section 16-17-110 underground utilities at 161 Main Street, town of Minturn.
Second.
All right, that's motion by Gusty, second by Kate. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution passes.
It's probably an easy, I'm really good at it.
Yeah.
Have a good night. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, back to you.
RFP.
Okay, next item on the agenda is Resolution 17, Series 2025, a resolution approving an RFP for the water treatment plant membrane design specification work.
Yes, so the membrane system requires a design, and in order to finish the building, especially up to 90%, the engineer is going to need to know what that membrane is going to be like. So in this resolution, it encumbers about $100,000 for the membrane design. You have every option when you get ready to award the membrane vendor, whether to continue or negotiate this price, but we want to make sure that in the RFP that the vendors know that you have funds set aside to design. This would be required for state revolving funds using government funds. It would probably, if you were using private funds, it would probably be in the price so you wouldn't see it. But this is a part of the RFP that will go out to bid possibly at the end of this week. And you as town council have the right to award the vendor, including the actual cost of designing the membrane.
Okay. Any other questions for Katie on this? Okay. Any comments? Make it happen. Okay. Yes, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to pass resolution number 17, series 2025, a resolution authorizing the encumbrance of waterworks enterprise funds to pay the proposed supplier directly to provide detailed submittal documents of a membrane microfiltration, ultrafiltration system for the Minturn water treatment plant project.
Second.
Fighting over it.
Motion by Eric, second by Gusty. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, next we have Resolution 18, Series 2025, a resolution ratifying a revitalizing Main Street $250,000 grant for Nelson Avenue Heated Street.
Yes, so I did reach out to Mayor Baidez and Mayor Pro Tem and asked them for their, if they would like to direct the grant writer to put a grant out to Main Street, revitalizing Main Street. That includes Nelson Street, the heating system that's under Nelson, some sidewalks, and some paving. We did get a response from CDOT that they don't believe this is eligible, and they asked if they wanted to proceed with it, and if even part of that was funded. Did we want to go ahead and submit it? We did say yes. I know that Stephanie and Spence have been working on their portion of the grants. This would only be on the town right of way. It's $250,000 with about a $31,564 match from the town. And of course, you still have every option. If they do not award it, then or award less of that, will certainly come back to town council.
All right. Any questions?
So we thought of a plan B if it's not awarded? Are we just gonna leave it the way it is, or?
Has to come back to town council part.
Yeah, so we'll do it then.
Very much.
I was just trying to get ahead of the game.
Buy more shovels.
Anything else, you two?
He's gonna throw your shovel.
We're a little punchy tonight. Okay, so any other comments, questions?
Actually, I had a letter from a citizen that was wondering if we could read it into public comment.
I have the same one if you want me to
Yeah,
read
same
it.
one, you
Yep,
were gonna do it.
from Boyd.
From Boyd, yeah.
Yep. Want me to read it?
Go right ahead.
From Michael Boyd, 504 Eagle River Street, Minturn, to the Minturn Town Council. I would like to say the thoughts of heating this area, I believe, are of good intent, and I thank council, staff, and Minturn Whiskey Company for putting the time offering proposal and reviewing this. This would be a business agreement through, though, and more details might need to be addressed prior to applying for a grant and deciding if this specific application is the best way to move forward. This is a business agreement and details need to be addressed before applying for a grant, deciding if this application is the best approach. Number one, will we have access to the easement to inspect and maintain the pumps? Question. Location? Question. Who is responsible for these costs? Will the whiskey company guarantee continuous heat when called for? Will this be transferable with the property, all conditions and hot water guaranteed? And the last and most important in the grant application that mentions geothermal technology, if complications and problems arise from the project, are we responsible to repay this grant or any portion of it? We as a government are applying for this grant with a partnership with a private entity. If you choose to move forward with this, with all of the details worked out, I suggest you do the road improvements after the building is complete with a CO and the stub outs ready to go prior to starting this, because this is an extensive project, 2 years, and all the equipment and building process will destroy the new street work. Thank you for your time and I wish Spence and Stephanie the best with this major undertaking. They are great neighbors and friends. Sincerely, Michael Boyd.
Is it public comment?
Absolutely. Come on.
TH 253 Pine Street. I have some concerns regarding the installation of the project and how it will affect those living on Upper Nelson and the businesses on William Street, north and south, as they have no other access to their properties. Has the time period for closure of the street been discussed in depth? For example, the best and worst scenarios, not really knowing what you're going to find when you start to dig. Access for emergency vehicles, parking for the customers of the hotels or the owners of those homes or the condo above the hotel. Availability for the delivery trucks, which that's their only, if they pull into Williams, that's their only out. I have had a business on Nelson and Main for 14 years. I had. Although there were many daily vehicle incidents in this area, they were caused more by vehicles going down the wrong way on Nelson, truckers clipping the buildings, trying to come out of Williams because it was a wide turn, not a wide turn area, due to the limited space. I never once witnessed two vehicles hitting each other due to ice or problems like that, nor did I notice people having trouble in the winter walking their dogs up that road. Prior to applying for the grant to heat a small, very small street, please give exhaustive thought about how this project will affect those who live and work in this area and whether it is really necessary. Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn.
We got community input, did we not?
Any other people want to address?
Spence DeBar, 161 Main Street. If this all happens, there will be a contract between the town and the company for how that all works. Ultimately, the town had in the budget for that was approved by town council to pave the street. Jeff Spinell came back at 83 or 85,000 to just pave the street. So that construction was already going to be done. So this would actually be a less of a cost to the town if we get the grant than just paving it. If it does not, if we, let's say we never build the building and the heating is there, it does not change anything. The street is still paved, there's something underneath it. Nothing, there's no change to just having a paved street. There's just some heating stuff that maybe you could hook up to later. But it doesn't ruin anything if the street gets paved with and it's not heated. It's actually still better than it is now. The other thing is that construction management would be in line with paving that street anyway. So I don't think we complicated things. We were just trying to add a little bit to a project that was already in the pipeline and actually applied for a grant that would lower the town's cost than just paving. You can say.
My wife does the same.
Stephanie Newbauer,
I don't know what you're
nagging
talking
wife.
about.
Yeah. No, we had in our discussions with, 161 Main Street, with our discussions, we'd also talked about putting in some contracts as far as the boiler becoming something that stays with the property, even if we don't distill, so that we would always continue to give Minturn access to that heat.
And regarding the closure would be one lane at a time and not necessarily the whole street. And that's the way Jeff Spinell outlined it, whether it's being paved or whether it's under this type of project.
Well, obviously they go concurrently. That's what current projection is, so no impact.
Very little.
Okay.
Yes, please.
Krista Driscoll, 115 Nelson Avenue. I'm just going to read to you a letter I wrote in support of this that I sent to Staff and Spence to submit with their grant proposals. As residents of Minturn, Colorado, whose home is located on Nelson Avenue, we would like to voice our support for the snowmelt project proposed by Minturn Whiskey Company in collaboration with the town of Minturn. This project will address critical safety and accessibility challenges posed by icy conditions on the hill during winter months and create a more hospitable living environment for us and our neighbors. In the 5 years since we've purchased our home, we've witnessed numerous vehicles attempt the hill, slide backwards, and then ramp up their speed on a second try to make it up the hill. The snow-packed hill is also enticing to local children whom we've seen sledding in the roadway. We try to help mitigate the dangers by advising children that it's not a safe place to play and using our residential snowblower to help clear and widen the road whenever we can, but it's only a matter of time until a motorist strikes a child while trying to navigate the street. The snowmelt system, which combines geothermal technology and waste heat from Minturn Whiskey Company, offers a practical, sustainable solution to these issues. By keeping the hill clear of snow and ice, the project will improve safety for residents like us, as well as visitors and guests who stay at the properties up the hill. Paving the roadway will also enhance its appearance during the summer months when Nelson Avenue becomes part of the local farmers market, which attracts visitors from all over the county and region. The project demonstrates an exceptional commitment to innovation and sustainability. It sets an example for other rural towns by showing how local businesses and municipalities can collaborate to solve longstanding infrastructure challenges while supporting clean energy goals. And we strongly urge you to support this transformative project, which will benefit not only the people of Minturn, but will protect our safety and that of our friends and neighbors and serve as a model for other communities facing similar challenges.
Well done.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So on that,
Okay.
you ready to make a motion? I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 18, Series 2025. Resolution ratifying direction to apply for a Colorado Department of Transportation Revitalizing Main Street grant for Nelson Avenue Heat the Street Sustainable Snowmelt Project on behalf of the town of Minturn.
Second.
Is that Kate? Motion by Tom, second by Kate. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Next, we have resolution number 19, Series 2025, a resolution approving a professional services agreement with the Little Beach Park retaining wall.
Thank you. So thank you to Town Clerk Jay for putting together the resolution. I'm still getting accustomed to Minturn's systems and processes. This is a resolution approving a professional services agreement for Intermountain to do the design for Little Beach Park, the retaining wall, and the service road, or widening the path at Little Beach. It was advertised and we only got one submittal, so.
I would just note that even though Intermountain Engineering is the town engineer, because it's a separate scope of work, we thought it was just easier to do a separate services agreement with them.
Any questions? Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 19, Series 2025, a resolution approving and authorizing the mayor to sign an agreement between Intermountain Engineering and the town of Minturn to perform dessing services to stabilize the existing retaining wall in Little Beach Park.
Second.
Motion by Gusty, second by Tom. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Next, we have an ordinance, number 5, Series 2025. This is the first reading. It's continuance from an ordinance renewing Xcel Energy franchise agreement.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, as you may be aware, the majority of Minturn is served with electrical power by Xcel Energy. And gas and natural gas. Thank you. Okay. So we have currently a franchise agreement with them. A franchise agreement essentially is consent to allow a utility to utilize the town's rights of way and certain other property to facilitate the distribution of energy within the community. We are in the process of negotiating the new franchise. There are a few provisions that we've identified that need some follow-up with Xcel. it's going to take a little bit longer than the end of May, which is when the current franchise expires. So we are proposing a 90-day extension of the franchise agreement. Excel is, they're okay with that. They did send me literally this afternoon a few comments on the proposed form. So at second reading of the ordinance, we may have a few edits to the document. You may be wondering, why on earth are we using an ordinance to approve a simple extension to a franchise agreement? And the answer is your town charter requires that all matters involving franchise agreements be done by ordinance. So this will come back to you at second reading. Don't be surprised if there's a few red lines to what you see today, but the gist will be the same, which is we're going to extend this out, and we'll be getting to you, I would think, in the next 45 days, a version of the franchise agreement for consideration.
Thank you, Mike. Any questions for Mike?
Are these franchise updates just procedural, or is there any precedent for the town going like, hey, there's another power provider in the area, like, can you play them off each other and get a bid if possible, or is it like you're stuck with them because they were here before?
It is not necessarily fungible, and the reason is that Excel owns the transmission equipment. I'm not personally aware of any situations where, for example, Holy Cross has bought out the transmission equipment of Excel and people have switched. Now, some municipalities have condemned or have acquired through negotiation the distribution network for utilities within their communities and operate their own power utilities. So in Glenwood Springs, where I live, I pay my power bill to the city of Glenwood Springs. But that goes back a long time because Glenwood had a little hydropower plant in the canyon many, many years ago. And so they just continue to own the infrastructure. So I guess I'm getting to, I'm not aware, except for under some probably pretty major circumstance, of a situation where a municipality has tried to get one power provider in for another.
Boulder tried, right, to take it in, but that after 10 years of lawsuits didn't work out.
Yeah, and I'm sure that was very expensive.
Sure, great. But no, I'm just wondering if there's like, if that's ever happened.
I will let you know. So the municipal attorneys, we have a listserv, and we tried before going into a negotiation with a utility for a franchise to get up to speed as to what kind of the current terms other communities are getting. So, we looked at 3 or 4 other mountain community franchise agreements that had been approved recently and identified where we thought negotiating points are. And what Excel has been willing to do is not like anything revolutionary, but it is consistent with what other communities have received. So
on that point, what are the key points that are different from the pre-existing agreement that we are trying to negotiate?
We'll go through that in more detail when I bring you the agreement. I will tell you that the thing that we're primarily trying to work through with Excel right now is the scope of property owned by the town where they can locate facilities. That they have in their form a fairly expansive definition of property upon which they can put their distribution network. And as you all are aware, the town of Minturn owns a bunch of parcels of property which are not streets, they're not utility easements, they're assets that we hold that we need to make sure somehow there's not a claim of a right to place utility infrastructure on it without the town's both approval and compensation. So.
Excuse me, I don't want to go too much further. Jonathan, we just lost the TV. When you touch that box back there.
I didn't even touch it.
No, the one that's on the floor. You sometimes have to jiggle it. No, on the floor. On the floor. No, the box that plugs in it, that one. Sometimes it comes a little loose and it doesn't plug in. And so when you moved it, it blinked this out. Cindy, can you still see?
Looks like it's powered off.
We're out of touch.
Yes, I can still see you.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, at any rate, this is just to give us a little bit more time to complete the negotiations. And to your point, Tom, we'll be bringing you a memo that kind of details the changes from the prior agreement.
That fixed it, Jonathan.
Excuse me. Does
No
this
weight.
agreement have any weight on, or any correlation, I guess, with our hopeful solar field plans in the future on the tailings piles?
Solar fields.
The one solar field that would be.
Oh, solar field. Oh,
How does Mike not know about this? What we've been doing for the last 5 years.
the town going into the mining business, is that?
Main Street's gonna be a goat rope tomorrow, all because of what he said.
Not directly. The franchise again relates to distribution. And so if the town moved forward pursuant to the agreements that we negotiated with Battle Mountain to put a solar field together, that would be under a power purchase agreement. It's a different document. Yeah.
So if I could, the biggest thing this thing does, I mean, we've always had a franchise agreement with both Holy Cross, actually with all Holy Cross, Comcast, XL. If you look at your bill each month, you'll see a little franchise fee on there. That's what this is talking about. We get a fee for them being able to go through our town. The big deal this gives us is because we're in with all the big dogs, people like Denver and Boulder will go ahead and do an audit on them, and then XL will come back through and go, well, they caught us on this, or they found this, and so we might get some money that way. But for the town to go through an audit, something like this would be financially invaluable.
So the town does receive a franchise fee, which is an extra charge on power that is essentially rent for the use of the town's
This is
property.
about 50 grand a year, 55.
Okay, good. Any other questions for Mike or Jay? Okay, since this is an ordinance, I'll open it up for public hearing. Does anyone have some serious questions about this franchise agreement?
About the 90-day extension of the franchise.
Might at some point.
Come on, man, you want to talk about it? No. She doesn't.
I want power.
Cindy, we have anybody online who wants to discuss this?
No one with their hand raised.
Okay, and with that, I'll close the public hearing.
Make a motion to approve ordinance 5, series 2025, an ordinance of the town of Minturn, Colorado, granting temporary extension of the franchise agreement between the town of Minturn and Xcel Energy of Colorado for the use of town property to provide gas and electric utility service to the town and its residents.
I'll second that.
Motion by Kate, second by Gusty. Roll call, please.
Brian, aye.
Kate, aye.
Gusty, aye.
Eric, aye.
And Rolly. You get our 90 days.
First reading, yeah. We'll be back for that all important second reading.
Indeed, I can't wait. Really. So next, under discussion and direction items, we have a discussion on the Tank 2 report and recommendations.
Yeah, so Tank 2, the HDR did a draft analysis of the tank. Troy, who is in the northwest area of our country, is aware of cold country and the issues with water tanks. So he was the one for HDR that put this together. He's kind of a tank specialist. So the project provided, almost at the very last page, provided you some alternatives. And in discussions with John Volk, you are going to have to do about $5,000, probably no more than $5,000 of repairs to seal the tank. You have a major inspection that's coming up here, and we need to address that this year. He's also provided some information. So let's say you do nothing and you do have to take the tank off of. So he's provided you some information about the fact that there's going to be, the town could be out of water. So in other words, if a repair to the distribution system is required from the water treatment plant to Main Avenue, the entire town could be out of water. There's one loop from 1031 Main to 811 Main. If a repair is required in that area, we can send water through the 6-inch line on the east side of the Highway 24. If repairs are made outside of this area, the entire town is out of water. So part of the action is probably no action, but you need to make sure that you're directing staff to look for funds and add that to your capital improvement plan before 2030, because I would not suggest extending, that if that tank 2 has to be taken offline any further any time after 2030.
Thank you. Any questions on that?
I guess just is one comment here in regards to the tank liner option that of the 5 contractors HCR spoke with regarding a liner system for tank 2, all 5 strongly recommended against and would not be willing to provide a quote to install a liner system. So where does that leave us?
So this is the repair that that John is talking about, just doing some sealing, taking.
That's it.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
But with epoxy.
Yeah, epoxy and draining the tank.
But that gets us a year or 2 based on.
Well, it looks like you got 8 months last time.
Right.
Seems like bad ROI.
And why are they so violently opposed to putting a liner in? Just
It's
because
not
of cold climate issue?
cold climate, and it's not going to last. You're going to invest in the tank liner, and then it doesn't look like it's going to last. Your investment in money is not going to be for very long before you have other issues.
But you mentioned you'd be lucky if you got 2 years out of it.
I mean, for that cost, we could get a new tank almost.
Mm-hmm.
Like in 4 years, we would have spent enough money to just get a new one.
It was a bummer. But, okay.
I suggest action number 1 and start planning, try and look for some money and plan for replacement within the next 5 years.
I think that's a good path. Any other alternatives from anybody?
No, I guess the only question is if we're on an 8-month cycle, they feel we could make that duration of time with that perpetual.
It isn't the same patch that keeps leaking though. What it is these tanks are bolted together and there's a gasket between it. The gasket's failed, so they do a patch over here, then the gasket fails over here.
Yeah. So
you just kind of keep moving around a little.
Whack-a-mole. Got it. Okay, so would you want to direct staff to follow option 1 and start looking for more money?
Isn't that a just continual standing?
It seems to be.
It's like a standing agenda.
Yeah.
Find money.
All right. Okay, so we're off to future agenda items.
This is a miracle.
Anybody got one?
The list is in the packet of what we've got coming up. The most exciting thing on the list is, of course, receiving the audit.
Oh,
That's-
yeah.
Yeah.
That's your favorite time of year.
It's almost as good as budget.
So where your money tied? Okay, so 21st, we have a resolution approving the updated Town of Minturn Employee Handbook. Was that still on?
Yes, that's still on. We're moving.
Okay, just checking.
We're pretty much done with it. I'm going to be sitting down with Public Works and whatnot in the next few days. Lynn actually I think she wanted to be here for it. That's why it got pushed off that far.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
That's right, yeah.
It's not an emergency.
Okay, and I also got a discussion about the Little Beach Park playground design and replacement. I believe we have a survey out now, if I recall. So we'll have that feedback. And then water treatment plant financing options. Think you'll have any more information by then?
We should. I'm going to contact Jim Mann at Silt.
Good.
I met him a couple weeks ago and definitely, from what I understand, he's got a history with looking financial options. Kind of go through those with him and kind of go through, what the differences are between all of these other options.
Right.
And you may put your nose up at some of them, but that's what we need to kind of know, kind of which direction we're going to go.
Thank you. Okay, nobody else has any more?
I just won't be in attendance at that meeting. Be out of the country.
Yeah. So, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
So quick. Motion by Kate, second by Tom. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
This is actually.